I think this is where a lot of people are starting to use ChatGPT as a crutch, and they're not using it to think better, to become smarter, to become more strategic, to become a better leader, to become a better investor, become a better business owner. They're using it to become a lazier investor, lazier business owner, lazier leader. And so you can either become better or you can become lazier. Too many people are becoming lazier.
Representing Franchise Secrets, Erik Van Horn.
Hey, welcome to the Franchise Secrets podcast. It's me again, and I'm going to spend the show talking about how I use ChatGPT. And I heard it, years ago from Jeff Woods, and he said, I use ChatGPT AI like an advisor. And that's one of the things that we do at Front Street. We do a lot of advising. So if you really think about an advisor, that is someone that is not just a yes person. They're not just telling you what you want to hear. And yet ChatGPT is always telling me what I want to hear, or it doesn't really challenge my thinking. And there's a few different ways to get around that. One of the things that I would do is go into your settings, and you can actually have ChatGPT or these different AIs respond to you the way that you want to be responded to. And I think a lot of us, we'd like to be told that we're right. We'd like to be told the way that we're thinking, the way that we're doing things, our assumptions are correct. At least we, deep down, we kind of want that, because if we're getting told the things that the things that we're actually doing, the things that we want to do, if they're wrong, if they're incorrect, it doesn't feel good. And it makes you wonder how smart you really are, how good you really are. And that's why you always want to be that student. Now, I was a straight C student growing up until I got into college, and I had some classes that I really liked. I really enjoyed that were, and one of them was one of the harder classes of statistics. And it was one of the harder professors. And I actually did really well in that because I thought it was very interesting. And some of the other classes that I took were really interesting as well. And some of them were around books. I remember reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People in one of my college courses. And like, I loved that book. And even today, I use that book within my custom GPTs to help me think, to help me understand, like, what would Stephen Covey say from a leadership perspective? What would John Maxwell say, or Jocko, or whoever it is that you want to see how they would respond as a leader and as an advisor. Like, that is the gold in when you are using ChatGPT as an advisor. And again, you've heard me say it before. I don't care which one you use. It could be Claude, it could be Gemini, Grok, or ChatGPT. But one of the things that I use it for is as an advisor. I'm going to talk about like a couple different custom GPTs, but one of my main custom GPTs that I use kind of globally is a family office GPT, a single family office GPT. And I'll explain really how I use that and how that's relevant to business owners, franchisees, franchisors, or just high net worth individuals. But going back to having an advisor, people want to work with Front Street, want us as advisors, because we have 4 unique different perspectives in franchising. And between the 4 of us, we've done everything in franchising. We've looked around all the corners that you could possibly see as franchisees, as franchisors. Some have had multiple, like many exits to private equity in the partnership group, and started things from scratch, started things like with a kind of like a running start. We've done it all at Front Street with that partnership group. And if we haven't done it, we bring in an operational partner who has done the thing that we don't have experience in, so we can take our brands and just give them the best possible advice, advisory that we can give. But you can also use ChatGPT to think as that advisor. And so going to the family office GPT. So family office is kind of what high net worth individuals use. Multifamily office is maybe there's a number of high net worth individuals that have a full suite of investors tax strategy. They're managing their kind of their investments, but their financial investments, their structure, and really a lot of their life in a family office. And the single family office are very high net worth individuals that are managing, just like one family office is managing one individual's person's basically their family because of the wealth that they have. And so when you hear family office and single family office, I like to look at single family office. I wanted to create a GPT as if it was my single family office. And if I was going to them for advice and this network, this group of people that is helping me. So I spent a fair amount of time creating a single family office GPT, and I'm just going to refer to it as my family office GPT. But it helps me with tax strategy. It helps me with legal documents. It helps me anything that I want to run my professional life and even my family life through. I use that as a starting point with ChatGPT. And so just some things that I've used this family office for recently is it helps me prepare for meetings. And I have, so it might be the family office, it might be other GPTs that I have or projects that I have within ChatGPT. But if I'm going into a meeting, especially if it's a meeting that we have a lot on the line. It's a brand that we are looking at working with. It's a brand, it's a franchise that we're looking at it's a company that we're looking at franchising. I like to go into these meetings knowing who it is like that we're talking to, the challenges that we're facing as a group, so we can work together for the right outcome. And I want to understand their personalities. I want to understand the roadblocks. I want to understand like how well we're going to work together. So it's not just about getting a deal done, but it's like, is this the right partner? Are we the right partner for them? Are they the right partner for us? And so I think, this, when you're going to these meetings, maybe it is with your GM, maybe it's with your sales team, maybe it's with, you're looking at buying a franchisor. You should still be going into all of these meetings like highly prepared. We used to go into a lot of these meetings, not necessarily blind, but not nearly as prepared as you can go into these meetings today. So my schedule is full of meetings, but these meetings are highly productive because of what's fed into these GPTs. Most of the time, everything's recorded in these meetings. And then you can use that to get highly productive output. When you leave that meeting, different people have different things to do, and they should be getting done before the next meeting. And then you can understand tone. You can understand what people are meaning to say. You can understand so much about them and about the project that you're working on. So these meetings are like uber productive. So I use it for meetings for one thing, like day in and day out, all the time. I am prepared for these meetings, even if it's a new brand that comes to us. So I get introduced to a franchisor or someone that wants to franchise their business. I have them fill out a form. It takes them a long time to fill out. If they don't fill it out, we're not talking, because I don't get on the phone just to get on the phone with people, just to talk to them. Like, they need to fill out a good amount of information before they get on the phone with us. And I would expect the same thing if I'm wanting to learn from somebody else. I will take the time to fill out or do whatever they want. So they fill out all this information. I go and I grab their FDD, or I have deep research done on this brand. And so everything is prepared for this meeting. Like, I have a GPT that just prepares me for the first meeting based off of the form that they fill out, the FDD, or any available information that is done on deep research. All that's compiled, and then it's put into a format so I know what to ask and really what I'm looking for to see if we want to work with this brand at Front Street, like as with that person, if it's a viable concept, and then if we have enough levers that we can move at Front Street to be able to make it worth their time. So like that's just an example of one 30-minute meeting that I have, but it takes me literally just a few minutes to prepare for that meeting. So it's very productive. Before, we would spend hours with people to really understand if we want to continue to have conversations. Now it's 30 minutes. And if it's a yes, we want to have another conversation. Same thing happens. That second meeting is very, very productive. So I've built GPTs, or robust prompts, whatever you want to do, but go into meetings highly intentional, whether it's buying a franchise or you are working with your team or vendors or whatever it is. All right, so back to family offices. Again, this last week, it's around Christmas time. It's after Christmas right now, but leading up to Christmas, we had some proposals that were going out. We had some letters of intent on taking a business and turning it into a franchise with us. So we are the franchisor with the founder. And so we're putting all that together in an LOI, and a strong LOI that kind of, it could almost be like a contract, but we're not signing it as a contract. We're signing it as an LOI, but you're working through all kinds of deal points. So I'm going to my family office GPT and I'm saying, hey, we're, working on this deal. I feed it all that information, like, kick out an LOI for me so we can start working on this. And it kicks out this amazing LOI, and that we all go through and we're like, this is aligned. We're all working towards this. And now we're going to another level with that. And I'm going to create a GPT that's fully focused on building out an LOI. So we don't have to spend a bunch of money on attorneys once it comes time for contracts, or it comes time for putting together the LLC or the C Corp. That's another thing that, you should be using a family office GPT for, is like, what entity should I be creating? What kind of entity should it be? Should it be an LLC? Should it be a C Corp? And why? Or do you start LLC taxed as, a partnership? And then when do you tax it as a subchapter S? And how does that impact tax? How does it impact all kinds of other things? So that's what you use a family office GPT for. Or you just, talk to ChatGPT you talk to ChatGPT to get insights so you're not spending time with an attorney or as a CPA, because both of those attorneys and CPAs are going to look at entity formation from a different perspective. So like what we're going to do when we are the franchisor of a brand, we're going to be a C Corp. And this is our preferred method, is to be a C Corp, because there's this thing called QSBS where you basically get to save a ton of money on taxes. The first $10 million is basically tax-free. And when you go to sell it, and there's ways to have it 20 million or 30 million or 40 million based off of how you stack it. And some of this was available before the big, beautiful bill. And things are looking really good moving forward with after Trump did the big, beautiful bill. So again, this has been in place for a long time. Looked like things were going to change a little bit on it, but now it just got much more friendly. So for people like us, it makes sense to be a C Corp because of the massive tax advantages. But it comes with complexity with a C Corp. It comes with, different types of taxing. And then you also want to, as you're building out us as a franchisor or those as franchisees or franchisors, like what other entities do you want to have in that structure? Do you have a LLC that's a holding company, or a C Corp that's the holding company? And then do you have different, like, who owns it? Is it a trust? Is it another entity? And who's involved in that entity or that trust? And then you use this family office GPT to help you with the operating agreement, if it's an LLC, or whatever it is around entity creation, and how partners in that entity have the rules. They play by the same rules. So in that operating agreement, like, when is it a majority vote, when it is minority, when who votes for what, and so those are the types of questions that you ask this GPT. So when you're on with the attorney, you have a very productive conversation. It saves you a bunch of money because you're having a very intelligent conversation with them versus just asking them a bunch of questions that you could ask the GPT. And the same with the CPA, because again, attorney is going to look at it from a legal standpoint. CPA is going to look at it from a tax strategy standpoint, and you are going to be looking at it from both. And then you also need to look at it for you from a complexity standpoint. So we've been using the Family Office GPT just for that exact thing. And then I'll say something else around having a Family Office GPT, or if you just want to put in a prompt to ChatGPT about trusts, or like a domestic asset protection trust is one that I've been looking at. Now I have a trust already set up for the family, and now we're looking at doing another one. So it could be a SLAT, spousal lifetime asset trust. There's different, and both of those can kind of be the same thing. But so those are some of the things that I'm working on myself. And I like to have all these questions that I ask this Family Office GPT to be able to get the best output and ask the best questions to my wealth advisor, to my CPA, and to my attorney. So it just saves a lot of time. And then when you're out talking to different people about this type of stuff, ask them those questions, those that might have a SLAT or a DAPT, just another type of trust that you're looking at doing for wealth preservation, tax mitigation, asset protection, whatever it is. Like, ask them why they did it, how they did it, who they use, and then you start asking that GPT even more questions based off of the answers that you get. So those are some of the things that I use that Family Office GPT for. And then some of the basic stuff, it's too late now because we're, about in 2026, or we are in 2026, is tax strategy. I think this might be the most underutilized uh, way that people are using GPTs, is understanding their financial situation and tax strategies that they should be using, or at least exploring, or at the very least asking their CPA if this is something they should be considering. I know that Lifestyle Investor Tribe of Investors, finding good CPAs is probably one of the most common issues that members have when they come in. And even when they're in, it's hard to find amazing CPAs. And we have some great ones that are working with a lot of members in the group, but it's hard for people to leave their CPA even though they're weak CPAs. And I would have, if I guessed, 90% of the people listening to the podcast or more have a weak CPA, or they've outgrown their CPA and they need a new CPA. So at the very least, if you are making a little bit of money or a lot of money, you should absolutely, and you're paying taxes, and if you're paying significant amount of taxes, you should be looking at ways to reduce those and not just relying on your CPA, because there's a big difference between a CPA and a tax strategist. I'm in a unique position, and some of the other mastermind members are high net worth individuals that I know, where they have a CPA that is a tax strategist, or they have a CPA that works in combination with a tax strategist. And I've kind of got both. I got an amazing CPA that loves tax strategy, and then I got a wealth advisor that just loves tax strategy. So I'm super dialed into tax strategy, and they're at the very beginning, you should at least ask ChatGPT, be my tax strategist. What kind of questions do you have for me? What kind of questions should I ask my CPA? And then give it a range, like from the most risky to the least risky, from the ones that are like guaranteed to get me an audit to the ones that would never flag an audit. That way you were at least educated. And if you have some that, like, these things never raise a red flag in an audit, if that's what ChatGPT says, you validate that with other people that have been audited, they've done that particular strategy, And then if your CPA says, oh, that's too risky, you're going to get flagged for an audit, then just maybe you might have a CPA that is afraid of the IRS and is afraid of audits and just wants to prepare your taxes without really providing much strategy because they don't know strategy. So use it for that. Hopefully this saves some people tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in your taxes. And I think one thing, most of the people listening are business owners, and you should be using, in my opinion, not tax advice. You should look at the using the Augusta rule in your tax strategy. And at the very least, do that. Ask your CPA if they know about the Augusta rule, what they think about the Augusta rule. Do they use it with any of their current clients? And have any of those clients been audited? And if they have been audited, was there anything challenged with the Augusta rule? This is a very low-hanging fruit strategy that I've been using, and I've been audited, and I've been very happy with the results of my audit. So I would absolutely look at that, and you could push that to where it should get flat. It should you can overdo that one. If you have a 1,000 square foot house, you use it as an Augusta rule for your business, and you're claiming $200,000 to use that house, unless it's on the beach in Maui. You probably can't get that much money for a 1,000 square foot house in Spearfish, South Dakota, like you could in Maui. So there are definitely rules that you have to follow. There's paperwork that you have to do, but there are strategies out there that I see most people not taking advantage of. So go to your CPA, ask them if they've heard of the Augusta rule. If they haven't, educate yourself, educate your CPA. First rule is you probably have the wrong CPA if they don't know about it. And if they want to learn about it and they come back to you and be like, oh, we should be doing this, then you have a CPA that at least wants to learn.
Attention, franchisors and franchisees. There are two really important resources that I want to share with you that will help you avoid costly mistakes and increase your enterprise value. The first is our free Facebook group. It's a community that has over 4,000 franchisees and franchisors in it. When somebody asks a question, they get honest and authentic answers from multiple perspectives. You can join the group for free over at franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. The second resource I want to share with you is if you're a franchisee and you want to be around a community of successful Zs and other brands and in other industries, this is why I created the Franchisee Mastermind. If you want access to the best single and multi-unit owners to know what they're doing, or if you want to be around other multi-brand owners, then you'll want to check out my Franchisee Mastermind. The reason why people join is they want access to my Rolodex, my connections, to each other. They want a shortcut success, both short-term and long-term. Links will be in the show notes or at scalablefranchise.com.
So another way that I use ChatGPT is analyzing monthly financial statements and company performance. It's so easy to do. Some people don't want to put any of their financials in there, even if you can, you can redact things in these. You don't have to put like what entity it's for. You can then to GPT, it just looks like a bunch of numbers, but it will analyze all those numbers. So some people are just super careful on putting things in. I am not that careful with probably a lot of people that I know are just like me. They're not as careful with that. I'm fine putting in some P&Ls. I can just take out the company name if you want. But you can get so much insight, and then you start comparing month over month, year over year, and it will just, it'll analyze all that for you. But then just ask it the right questions. What am I missing here? What should I be seeing that I'm not seeing? What are some of the trends that you see that I don't see? And you just start asking it questions. What kind of questions should I be asking that I'm not asking? Ask it all those questions. Tell me about revenue. What is your what do you see in revenue? What do you see in expenses? Where am I drifting? What are the short-term or long-term trends? What are some leading or lagging indicators that I should be paying attention to? You just start putting in questions like that, and then those questions usually lead to other questions. And pretty soon you have a really good analyst of your books, of a company, of the health of that company. So if you're not sure what to ask ChatGPT what you should be asking if you hired an advisor that was going to analyze the financial statements for my business, and then just ask ChatGPT those questions once it has it. This leads me to another thing that I put together. It's really to review my passive investments. So I have a lot of different passive investments. I learned a lot about passive investing from Justin Donald, the lifestyle investor. He's taught me so much over the years, and he's got a mastermind that I'm a part of, the lifestyle investor. We created a mastermind together called the Tribe of Investors. And there's a lot of franchising people in both of those masterminds. So it's a lot of fun to be around franchising people that are also investors, and they are after the lifestyle too. They're not just after making a bunch of money, but they want to make an impact with that money, and they want to create memories and have generational, like multi-generational wealth for families. Doesn't mean giving everything to your family, but it's creating multi-generational wealth. And being intentional with that. So I learned a lot about passive investing with Justin Donald. And so as a result, I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of reports every month. I'm seeing different emails on different deals. Some of it's great news. Some of it is just normal news. And every now and then you'll get something like, oh, ran into a hiccup here. And got me thinking, I don't want to just all of a sudden run into a hiccup on something. And by the way, some of these hiccups might be a great thing. Like it's not, they're just being transparent and being honest with you about a challenge like all businesses run into, and their plan to address those challenges. Like that's what you want when you're an investor. Like not every investment goes up and to the right all the time, just like business doesn't. But you want to understand what's happening with your investments. Just like the stock market. You see the stock market go up and down, and you can't, you just have to look at the bigger picture. So I want to be able to look at the bigger picture with these passive investments that I'm involved with, but I also want to understand the nuances and the different things that are impacting my investments. So what I did is I created basically it's a passive investment review GPT. I use it to monitor all of my investments. So I get an email or an investment letter that comes in, and it tells me everything about that investment. And I want to see the things that I don't see. I want this to be my advisor. I don't want this person or this GPT to tell me how great everything is. I want to know the great things. I want to know things that are challenging, and I want to know the things that might be missing. I want to understand the things that I don't see reading one letter every month. I want them to remember every letter that I've given them, and I want to, and then I feed it the original thesis, the original like investment structure, the kind of the projections. And so it remembers that. And then when it's analyzing everything, monthly, quarterly, yearly updates, it compares everything. So sometimes you start to understand the tone is changing. And if you start to see a tone drift, it might prompt some questions that you should ask your CPA or that investment sponsor. You want to understand if they are continuing to give you all of the KPIs that they've always given you. And all of a sudden, if one KPI just drops off and they never report it anymore, is it because that KPI isn't good anymore? Is it measured in a different way, in a different report? Or is it they just stop monitoring that particular thing? Most of the time, it's not a big deal. But if you don't know that a KPI suddenly just stopped being reported, because you're just reading the new newsletter or the new email that you get or the new report, then, the next one might have a different one that just stops being reported. And so you just want to see like what was reported, why isn't it being reported today? You want to basically this GPT to act like an analyst watching your portfolio of investments at all times. It will catch the soft things that happen, the hard things that you might overlook. It will understand everything. And then I have it report to me in a red light, green light, yellow light type of format, where it will tell me if things are on track, if things are getting yellow, or if things are red. If things are yellow and then all of a sudden they turn to red, then I'm starting to pay a lot more attention. And then I'll be like, okay, give me some questions to ask my my sponsor or the company based off of the things that I see in this report. And you don't want to just fire off a question that you get from ChatGPT. Like, you want to understand this stuff. And I think this is where people misuse. I don't even know if misuse is the word, but they just have AI, ChatGPT, do everything for them. They don't think. Like, do they really understand the question that they're asking? If you don't understand the question that you're asking, you're not going to understand the answer that you're getting back. So you need to use this. Like, if you don't understand the question, ask ChatGPT, why am I asking this question? So that way you understand it. And then fire off a question that's actually your question, not a question that ChatGPT said to ask. Again, this is using this as an advisor, not as your, as you. I think this is where a lot of people are starting to use ChatGPT as a crutch, and they're not using it to think better, to become smarter, to become more strategic, to become a better leader, to become a better investor, become a better business owner. They're using it to become a lazier investor, lazier business owner, lazier, leader. And so you can either become better or you can become lazier. Too many people are becoming lazier. And, I think the biggest sign of that is all of a sudden, people creating content that never created content before. And it's full of the M dashes. It's full of the word fluff. It's full of all of the stuff that screams AI. And there's nothing wrong, I don't think, with using AI to create better copy, to create better messaging, to create better website copy, social media copy, but it's got to become better, and it's got to be you. Then it's one thing for, to put out a post out there that's AI, and you just gave it a dumb prompt and it kicked out a very AI type of social media post. But then you start doing that with important things like leadership in your own company, or tax strategy, or planning, like family, like your family's future with trust and financials and entity creation. That's where I just see people getting super lazy, and if they're using it for that, they're headed down the wrong path. So I wanted this podcast to kind of give you insight into how I use ChatGPT and how I challenge it all the time, but I want to be challenged with it. Even when it comes to my own leadership. Like, if I'm thinking about making a certain decision in a business, I want to be challenged in that decision. I want to be told where I'm wrong, where I was leading wrong, where I was thinking wrong, where I was about ready to make a bad decision or not the best decision. And I do that by having like a leadership GPT or strategic thinking GPT, or just a prompt that's like, challenge my way of thinking here. What would John Maxwell, like a leadership, one of the greatest leadership guys out, Stephen Covey, one of the, he wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Patrick Lencioni, Jocko Willenick, whoever it is that you go to for leadership. And you can see in those different, names, they're different. You got Jocko, the Navy SEAL. He's going to have a different style than Stephen Covey, and they're going to have a different style than John Maxwell. So I look for different perspectives. That way I can look at it and get feedback on a decision that I'm about ready to make. But what would Maxwell or Covey or Jocko, how would they look at this decision? And these are just examples of like some leadership people. I have others that are more for strategy. And I've got probably 30 different like main ones. It's Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, just different people that you would want perspective on. You would want advisors to help you understand the decisions that you're about ready to make. So like I look at this, I give ChatGPT the context of a decision, and then I'm like, how would they respond? And then I'm like, I like how this person respond, but why wouldn't they respond this way? Challenge my own leadership thinking. Where is my decision making off, and how would this have a like the butterfly effect? How would this decision affect the next one, and the next one? Like, tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me how this can cause a chain of reactions. Tell me how I can become a better leader. Like, that is how you use ChatGPT. And you don't want to hear it just from ChatGPT, but you want to hear it from these different personas like I was just giving you. So whoever those personas are, whoever those leaders are, whoever those people are that you would, if they were sitting in front of you, you would want to hear their perspective, use them. I mean, my own ChatGPT, because I have so much content out there, it understands me, my way of thinking. So I'm like, and it feeds me back. So when I have a list of leaders or franchise experts or strategists, my name's always included in there. And I'm like, oh, this is how Erik Van Horn would see this, or the decision that he would make. Challenge that thinking. Challenge John Maxwell's thinking. And I think this is how you use AI in a much better, stronger way than you're probably using it. This is the kind of stuff that I love to talk about in the franchisee and franchisor mastermind. Like, it used to be, we would talk about operations and marketing and sales and leadership and all these different things. And now I use AI most of the day. Like, I'm using this to be more productive in the day. And now I want to do this for my mastermind members. I want to spend 3 hours creating a custom GPT and give it to them. So they don't have to spend 3 hours creating a custom GPT or even think about it. I just give it to them so they can run with it. Sometimes that might be, here's another one for you. I have a custom GPT that is really based on Greg Nathan. Greg Nathan, he's the kind of the brains behind the franchisee lifestyle. It goes from Glee to Fee to Me to We. I didn't say it all right, but there's like 7 stages, and it starts out with Glee. Everyone's happy. And then there's like bumps in the road that all franchisees go through. Franchisees need to understand this. Franchisors need to understand this, because this is where the relationship of the franchisee franchisor is until you get to the We stage. So you go from Glee to We, and a bunch of bumps in between. So I fed ChatGPT a bunch of his stuff. So when I want to understand, how would Greg Nathan see this as a franchisee? How would he see this as a franchisor? What kind of advice would he be giving? Like, I go to that GPT, and I gave that to the franchisees and the franchisors, because it's very useful. I think it's probably the most unbiased GPT that I have for franchisees and franchisors, because he's kind of doing it from both sides. I like to think of myself as pretty unbiased, because I am a franchisee, I am a franchisor. Like, I've been on all sides of it, so I see all sides of it. But I think Greg's probably the best at it. And so I want him to challenge my thinking. I want him to challenge the thinking of the franchisors that we work with. I want him to challenge the thinking of franchisees that are in the mastermind. So that's how I use Chat GPT. And this year, in 2026, I will be going deeper into agents and workflows and automation, and I've already been doing some of that, but that's really next for me, and I'll be sharing all of that stuff and giving it to the mastermind members as well. But hopefully this was helpful. If you take one thing away, like use AI, use ChatGPT like this to become better. Don't use it as a yes person. Use it to challenge you, challenge your thinking. And the way that you know that you're really doing that is you're asking it, but then you're making different decisions based off of what you're seeing. Especially if you're getting ready to make one decision and you have 7 advisors, maybe they're real life advisors or they're advisors on, using AI, and they're all telling you something different, and you continue to go with the way that you want to do it. You might just want yes people around you.
Thanks for listening to the Franchise Secrets podcast. Links to everything can be found over at franchisesecrets.com. And if you want my help with anything from starting your own franchise to growing your current franchise business, please visit scalablefranchise.com.